You know, hold, because I'm on my Facebook page. I'm on the Celebrating Sisterhood page. I don't know why I don't see it. Hi, everyone. Ooh, welcome to our first Facebook Live of the year. I'm your host, Robin Shine Maddox, founder, visionary of Celebrating Sisterhood and the She Shines Conference. Well, we have a treat for you tonight. Listen, I've made announcements. I sent emails and texts to so many people to say log on because tonight we're going to talk about saving our democracy, our freedoms. And I have some guests for you. I'm telling you, subject matter experts, those who are on the ground, boots, feet on the ground doing the work. And so I am delighted to share with you and to introduce to you our guests for this evening. Now, remember, following our town hall session, we're going to go right on over to the National Tele Town Hall, say that real fast, right? Town Hall conversation, Facebook Live on the TJC, the Transformative Justice Coalition. I will be streaming it on my personal page, also on our Celebrating Sisterhood page. So just in case, you can't figure it out, just stay with us. So without further ado, let me tell you, we were in church or at the ball game, I would say, put your hands together. Come on, people. And we're going to have this discussion. So you said, what is this discussion about? We're going to be talking about, and I said the topic, saving our democracy, our freedoms, saving our democracy. We're going to talk a little bit about the J6 report. We're going to talk about and its impact upon the nation, how it has impacted us here in Pennsylvania, how it impacts our communities, how it has impacted Black women, people of color, how it has impacted our youth, how it has impacted our faith communities. So get ready. We're about to have this conversation. So let me introduce by name those who are joining us this evening. First, let's welcome Felicia Parker-Cox to the stage, or to the live, I should say. Hey, Felicia.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Robin, for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Next, we have State Representative Darisha Parker, who just got sworn in. Hey, State Rep, how are you? Uh-oh, can't hear you. Uh-oh, some technical. Are we getting it here? Oh, she's logging back in.
There you go.
Hey, girlfriend. Hey, sister girl. How are you?
I gotta apologize. For 3 years, we all should know better on how to be unmuted. So that's my bad. My mouth got twisted. Hello.
Yeah, it's all good. Next, we have with us our young people. Well, one of our young folks, Zion Sykes. Come on in, Zion. Hi, Zion.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And then we have Reverend Leslie Watson Wilson. Hey, Les. Also, later on, our commissioner, Omar Sabir, will be joining us. So at this time, we're just, like I said, we're going to jump right in. I already told the folks who are watching and who will be watching what we're talking about. As many of those who know, and then those who are not aware, Celebrating Sisterhood we have a signature conference which is entitled She Shines. And Celebrating Sisterhood / She Shines Conference, we focus on 3 core pillars. Let me say 3. Can you see? Three. One is social justice, voting rights. 2, health and wellness and safety, and the third one is spiritual enrichment. So we have conversations and events centered around those 3 core pillars. I don't know why I can't get 3. Okay, he's over here, right? And so we're kicking this year off focusing on our social justice and voting rights. So I'm going to just go around, I was going to say the table, but go around the screen. And I would like for each of you to introduce yourselves, right? And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about our freedoms, our vote, saving our democracy. So let's start with our sister friend, Felicia Parker-Cox. Come on, tell the people about yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Robin. I appreciate the opportunity to share to talk about something which I call my love language, which is politics. Politics doesn't have to be gritty and mean and dirty. It can be a wonderful, rewarding, and great topic for people to get involved in and to learn, because politics affects us in our everyday life, and I don't think people realize that often. So I am Felicia Parker-Cox. I serve as district director for United States Congressman Dwight Evans, who represents Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District here in Philadelphia. I also serve as a committee woman. For those who are joining us, a committee woman is a committee person is your first line into the political structure. They're the person in your community that you can go to for assistance and kind of your liaison between you and the elected officials. So I serve in that role as a committee person. And aside from that, I'm a wife and mom of 2. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Next, State Rep Darisha.
Good evening, and thank you, Robin, for having me on this sisterhood platform, talking about our freedom, our voice, saving our democracy. As you're listening to my voice, that extremely raspy, that would let you know for the past 7-8 months that I have been screaming to the rooftops for people that look like me why it's important to vote. Every 6 months there is an election. Every 6 months there's an election. Every 6 months there is an election. And I keep saying it from the rooftop. Every election is not an off year. There is a year, and that means we always have to make sure that people that we do vote. And I did not say that because I just got sworn in. I've been saying this well before I ran for political office. Again, my name is State Representative Darisha Parker of the 198th District, which currently includes East and West Oak Lane, Alany, Germantown, parts of Nicetown, and Logan. It's an honor to also share this platform with a new part of our district, which we have my sister to my left, Felicia Parker-Cox, who's in the mighty 61st Ward. And it's good when you're already been working with people. When I was a staffer for the Honorable Rosita Youngblood for 4 years. So there's people that I don't always have to introduce myself as well as you, Robin. We don't have to reintroduce ourselves. We're already been doing this work, and we've been committed to this work. And we're going to constantly keep saying, and I always tell people by starting off with the definition. What the definition of politics is, it's a system in which scarce resources are allocated. In other words, who gets what? And people don't want to hear the term. It's that cut, dry, simple. And the way you want to be about it, you don't want to be on the menu. You want to be at the table when people are being carving your areas and places out so that you can have your voice. So why I say that, and I'm talking about redistricting, when people got in their feelings, when we were sharing with them why it's important every 10 years to fill out the census, because now here we are. And that's why we're here today, just to talk about why it's important every 6 months to vote, why it's important to carry out what you want, and why you don't want to keep your voices silent. And before social media, there were things that were called, a telephone, and we knocked on people's doors to make sure that you made sure this information had got out. But I got dangerous because I'm a politician, so I'm gonna shut up right now, and I'm gonna pass it on to my sister, the Reverend, so I don't run out my time. I'm gonna give you my time.
Love it.
Two people to put back to back when it comes to talking. But let me just quickly share. I am Reverend Leslie Watson Wilson. I am the National Director of African American Ministers Leadership Council Religious Affairs at People for the American Way. We have a national ministerial alliance of progressive African American faith leaders that we partner with in order to connect the social justice, the social gospel of Jesus Christ to the social justice work and values that we do day to day. I love what State Representative Parker said, and I think that it's important when we talk about. I have been doing democracy work, I have been doing electoral work since 1980, before some of you on this call have been born. But I always like to say elections happen all the time, and all the time we must be ready to vote. There is not one single thing that happens in our life that is not connected to some election. And so, what we as people of faith, especially in times like these, need to be about is faith in action. We need to be ready to pray and do. We need to be ready to pray and go. We need to be ready to pray and be. It is that time of where I'll talk a little bit in a few minutes about Christian nationalism and the impact that it's having on our country and the image of Christianity. It is time for us to be in defense of Jesus Christ, whom we just celebrated as a worldwide Christian faith. His anointing, his coming, if you will, that he is here, that he has arrived. But I believe is my favorite word, and so I am someone who believes that we are all about and need to be about Genesis 50:20 in times like these. And that basically says what man intends for harm, God intends for good. So I will turn it over now to to the youngin and the younger than me person in the group, and give thanks for their presence. Zion, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Hi, everyone. My name is Zion Sykes. I am a board member of PA Youth Vote, a student at Penn State in my second year, also a committee person in the 56th Ward. Um, and I'm here, to sort of add into the conversation. I mean, I feel like these lovely women here have already said everything, but I'm going to try and add something to it. So, what I do with PA Youth Vote is that I assist in empowering younger people to understand that they have the power to influence political change in the way that they want to see it. We're a nonpartisan group, so we believe that as long as people are getting the power they need to make the changes they want to see, it's a great thing. And I believe that we're sort of at an interesting point that as we continue further down the road, we're learning more and more that politics, as everyone has said, means different things to many people, but it can be something positive. And PA Vote strives to enforce that, to show that not only are people in positions of power, they can be infallible sometimes, but we can become those people to make the changes that we truly need. Thank you.
Wow. So let's listen, everyone. We are in for a treat tonight. So we're going to start with Felicia. So, Felicia, if you want to just kick it off and let's talk a little bit about just a little bit about what led us here today in light of 2 years ago, the insurrection, its impact upon the country. You working for a congressman, and even touch upon how it impacted staffers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, as Robin said, we are at January 6th, 2023. And it's a day that changed, I think, the trajectory of our nation, probably forever, considering what we witnessed that day. If I can take you back to that day, I was working from home because those of us still know we were in the pandemic, where we were still in the throes of the pandemic during that time. And there was the vote that was supposed to happen in which President Trump did not win the election, as we knew, in November. And it was supposed to be the vote to bring in President Biden. And when the insurrection occurred, there were members in their offices, and my boss who is Congressman Dwight Evans, who represents the 3rd Congressional District here in Pennsylvania, was in the office with a staffer, and we were in constant communication. His office is located in Longworth, which is right across from where the Ways and Means chamber is. So he has a very prominent location to where his office sits. And they were there. They were in the Capitol. They were going into offices and just acting very unruly, as we saw. And I remember speaking with the staffer and asking, were they okay? What were they doing? I even, if I could joke a little bit, had to get my Philly hat on and told one of the staffers, because it was DC and he had a DC staffer with him. I said, listen, this is how you lock the door. This is what you need to put up against the door. And you just got to protect yourself, because everything was unknown. And what we were witnessing was something that we had not seen before. And so then our reaction to what we saw was nothing that we had experienced before. And so, I say it in jest, but it was really a serious time because everything was so unknown. So I think where we are today, for those of you who are following, we don't have a Speaker of the House elected yet. We are now entering into our 14th round of votes for a Speaker of the House. And that is something that we had not seen since the Civil War time period. So 14 rounds is a long time to go. And what it impedes for us is that as a worker in a congressional office, what has happened is that these members have not been sworn in. And so if they haven't been sworn in yet, then there's this blurred line that is occurring between us and other federal agencies as to whether or not we are able to do our jobs for our constituents, because technically there isn't a Congress member elected. They haven't been sworn in. So this process is serious, and it has serious ramifications for us as constituents, us as the general public. And so we need to figure out a way to get this process moving forward. And I think that our members that we've elected and that we've entrusted with this job are doing just that. The parties are trying to figure out the best way to get the needle moving so that we can have a smooth transition in our government. And with that, I'll turn it back over.
Wow. Thank you, Felicia. And so, unfortunately, but as a result, this is where we are today. And the impact that it has had, again, nationwide, and then going and sitting and watching, the hearings, the J6 hearings, and then finally a couple, weeks ago, they released their reports. So, State Rep,
Yes.
knowing what you know, and you, along with many of us, have experienced this, how did this impact, in which way, our state, Pennsylvania? And as elected officials, right?
Sure.
Did it bring more of a synergy, a unity, working together, leveraging,
Sure.
the power? So if you could you speak to that, please?
Sure. So for me to think about a year ago from where we were to today, a year ago when everything was occurring in DC, I was pivoting, doing things differently, doing damage control in Philadelphia, doing quick civic lessons, making sure everyone was aware that I was not in DC. I am in Harrisburg. That is the capital. I am in the state capital of Harrisburg. And I was saying it to my mother and saying, Mom, I'm fine. Tell everybody I'm fine. And she's like, Darisha, why are you saying that? I said, Mom, trust and believe. People think your daughter is in DC. Let them know I'm not. I'm in Harrisburg. We are okay. 20 minutes later, she's like, oh my God, my phone is ringing nonstop. Everybody is asking me, where is Darisha? Who is she by? Is she okay? So literally, I was doing damage control, making sure everybody knew that we were in the state capital. We were fine. I made sure I had my husband knew I was fine. My brother knew I was fine, and it's a system that we had. By being a new rep at that time, I made sure Senator Williams knew, and my brother knew, who's my political director, and my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So in the event, if anything was to swivel, those were the people who I knew I had to talk to at any given moment. And fast forward a few more days later, it was a little bit real moment for us in Harrisburg when you do see, white men in fatigue and rifles circling the Capitol. I pulled up into a parking space. That's what I see with dogs. So you have Capitol Police, you have other type of police, you have all of this type of, we're on high alert because of who we are as state officials for that particular day. So it was a scary moment. It was a scary day. It was a really real moment. We made sure we put, I know lobbyists to this day are still angry at me because their swipe cards and everything had to change because I said, we are not taking anything for granted. People making this like this is their capital. They were just wanting to come in the building at minimum. I said, absolutely not. We gotta make sure we are safe at all times. My office door was locked because I was not taking any chances because that building was just too big. And now certain measures, fast forward now a year later, certain measures have already been in place. We're already used to seeing people walk around in their army fatigues and their rifles and their dogs. We have all these securities and extra measures in places now because of that. We do have our own security and different things in place because of what happened in DC was a trickle down to it is. The main difference now for as I'm sitting in front of you on this platform is the fact that we do have a speaker in our state house that is Democratic. And, people are concerned and just a little bit confused about the process. He was duly elected. He was sworn in. And now I will be going back as of Sunday to Harrisburg on Monday. I always go a night before. So I'm going to go up there on Sunday, trying to still figure out what things are going to happen. If people today are kind of saying I'm keeping things coded or I seem kind of like scripted, I am. Because there are still things, legalities, and they're in court. So there's things that are still very fluid as of 6:39 that we're working on. And you got to be, careful and moving the swivel. That means as of right now, I don't know what committees I sit on. I don't know when session's going to begin. And I don't know what the calendar and stuff is going to look like. So, but we can say we do have a speaker. We didn't make that known, and we're just gonna just keep moving things forward. And as I think of things, and it would not be fit if I know people always say separation of church and state, but as things are willy nilly, I always gotta go to my Lord, and I'm gonna give y'all this. Psalm 27 of David: the Lord is my light and my salvation; whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life; of whom shall I be afraid? When evil men advance against me to devour my flesh, when my enemies and my foes attack me, they will stumble and fall. And that's pretty much how I try to close so I can stay on my swivel for and always remain and prayed up for these evil and uncertain times of a lot of things that are coming at me at a speed, at a snail's pace. And the mere fact that I'm saying legalities are happening is why, if any of you tried to text me or any of you tried to email me about what happened Tuesday, is why I did not respond. It's why I try to get in front of people, just be very fluid. Like, did you read the Inquirer article? Did you see that? Cool. And keep it moving. I haven't done any interviews. I'm not sending out any press releases because at the end of the day, when you know how things are, and you know that there are now our caucus and our building of Harrisburg does not look as white as it used to be. It's a whole lot of us melon in that building. Things is a little bit different when things shift, when shifts happen that don't look like that hue behind me. It looks like the hue in front of you, and you got to move on your swivel. So I did say things for you to. Everybody on here is very smart enough to understand what I said. And I didn't leave no punches because I see the commissions on here, and I know he's gonna bring it home for me when we talk about state business, and we always talk about why it's important to always vote, and why sometimes it's always important for us to sometimes shut off social media and sometimes just talk to the people that you know directly and keep us in prayer.
Well, you heard it from State Rep. And I want to say again, congratulations to you being sworn in again. But then your new appointment
Yes.
as secretary, right? Did you
Secretary
mention that?
of the Black Caucus, Pennsylvania Black
There
Caucus.
you go. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. We're so proud. And
Yes.
you're absolutely right. And these, what you touched upon, as well as Felicia, is a lot of information that people just in general, they're not aware of, they're not in tune to. And we're always, it's safety first,
Yes.
you know, and adhering to the code of ethics, right?
Yes, always.
Because we're held responsible and accountable, and so you must not only protect yourself, but in protecting yourself, in this case, you're also protecting the people, right?
Absolutely. That, you try to manage the fear, you try
Mhm.
to manage you can't manage the whisper lane of Black folks. Okay, you can't manage the negative, the toxic, the gossip, the words. It's so many negative, nasty words that have been shared from Tuesday and to now. If I listened to it, I would literally be in the hospital, because that is how toxic, that's how damaging, that's how negative it really has been. And I have made a commitment, because of my communications background, to not give people the energy that they want, to not feed into the gossip, to give them real hard facts. And that's pretty much why I kept saying, read the Inquirer, read
Right.
read the Inquirer. Inquirer breaks down the whole timeline, so people who weren't there can see it real time. And stay tuned, because there's more to come. Thanks to everything that's happened, we have our go ahead for our 3 seats from Allegheny County, and that special election will be on February 7th. And then from there on, just stay tuned. And that's pretty much how we're going to rock and roll.
Absolutely. And so with that, I'm so excited because we have a young man who is with us, right? I'm just a little bit older than him, just by a couple of years, not so many years. But, you know, we want to state and emphasize and to encourage even the more our young adults, our young people, to get involved in being civically engaged, right? And knowing their rights and their responsibilities as when it comes to voting, and getting, as I mentioned, actively engaged. And so, Zion, so you heard from Felicia. You heard from State Rep thus far, Darisha Parker. So, and back behind the scenes, of course, you met Reverend Leslie Watson Wilson, of course, and the great Commissioner Omar Sabir is with us. Woo! Omar! Right? So I want you to share with us, from your perspective as a young adult, a young man, what made you, why did you decide to get involved in politics, civic engagement, voting, and what role do you currently play in addition to being a college student, right? And share with us that there are a lot more young people who are becoming more engaged in the process.
Yeah, of course. So I guess sort of starting off with that, what sort of got me involved, it's kind of sad, but it's just the truth about how I sort of was involved. Um, it began sort of in the year 2020, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, when it was sort of in its beginning, everyone's at home stages. And sadly, my grandma caught the virus and passed away. And I then learned about a lot of different specific policies that were proposed, shot down by different various government officials. And I thought, this could have saved, these things could have changed the outcome of not only my grandmother's life, but many others. So hundreds of thousands of people wouldn't have had to potentially suffer the same fate. And you know, after that, I just sort of started getting curious about what other things what I could have done to what I could do to be a voice for those who, we've lost or don't really know what to do. Because I felt fortunate enough that I had the ability to look for these opportunities and seek them out. So eventually I did that with PA Youth Vote. I just happened upon them one day, and I went to a Zoom meeting, sat in there quiet, and I kept going for a few weeks, and eventually started voicing myself a bit more and more. And it got to the point where I ended up being in charge of setting up voter registrations and education events. That's where I still love to do them today. Actually, even here at Penn State's campus, I've helped quite a bit with our PSU Votes efforts. And basically, with those events, I would set up registration stations, inform people of the different positions running on the ballot, because, like it was said earlier, there's an election every 6 months. These things are constantly changing. We want people to stay up to date. Like in May, the primaries are happening. Judicial candidates are up on the ticket, which is another amazing thing about Pennsylvania. We elect our judges. Fun fact. Um, but that's besides the point. I sort of found a love for doing that, setting up these events, teaching people, having these conversations. Like we mentioned, there's different ways people get involved. I guess I'm more of the on the ground person, discussing things, challenging people to try something new, to go out and vote if they haven't, learning why they don't. So never sort of shutting down someone's lived experience. I just want to understand where they're coming from and how I can get them to better themselves, or not better themselves. I'm sorry, better understand how they can involve themselves in the process that governs parts of their lives. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting parts of the question.
Oh, talking about young people, more young people getting civically engaged and involved, and why is that now? Why do we see more and we're hearing more young people getting involved?
Okay, yeah. So I think the organization I'm representing right now speaks to that. PA Youth Vote. It's an organization made up of, and governed by, like, I'm on the board of it, young people. Um, I I I don't know the exact number we have, but it's definitely over 50, and we're consistently growing, statewide organization. So there's people all over, and it's not only our group. There are multiple groups, young activists, all like around Philadelphia. Even I know where most people here are from. We have people opening food fridges for people, community fridges for people who need food. Setting up clothing drives, teaching people how to register to vote, a plethora of things. There's opportunities everywhere to become civically engaged. I think that's something that a lot of people don't even realize. Just interacting with your community, helping people around you, that's civic engagement. Not only voting, it's voting and helping your neighbor, voting and letting people understand all that they need to in order to become that good neighbor. It's it's such a fluid thing. But on top of that, there's young candidates running for different positions and offices. Our first Gen Z member of the United States Congress is elected, or is a representative elect still. But there's just, I think that a lot of this started from January 6th, seeing like the damage that can be done when our government is used in a way that's I guess, how would you say, greedily motivated, selfish and selfishly motivated. But when it's used when we utilize it in a way that uplifts the good that can be done, it's then that we can really reach the full potential of our democracy, and we see everyone involved get involved, especially young people, because we honestly have a lot at stake. Most of these things are going to be governing our lives for decades, probably. So um, there's a lot of reasons why a lot of young people getting involved. We're seeing even more pop up every day, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for sharing that, Zion. We're going to turn to Reverend Leslie Watson Wilson, and Les, you're going to talk to us about the importance, the value of our faith communities, and what we have brought to the table, and what we continue to bring to the table, and perhaps even talk about. And I'm going to also um, pose this question to Commissioner Sabir. What are some of the strategies? What do we need to put in place? What do we need to strengthen? So let's take it away.
Well, that's a whole lot, but let me just quickly say that on January the 6th, 2 years ago, we were in the process of celebrating and recognizing Epiphany, the day that Jesus introduced and was represented to the Gentiles. And in the midst of that, we had people who were calling themselves Christian, who appeared on television around the world, waving Trump flags, American flags, the Confederate flag, and even a Christian flag, as if it were to say that Christ was in the midst of that disorder, that mess that was going on. People of faith, myself and others, what we knew was that there was nothing about the image that had to do with Christ being lifted up. Christ is other oriented. For those of you who are Christians, I hope you get that. It was not about something that was new that we saw on January 6th that many of us recognized and started teaching and preaching and talking about, but it was not the beginning but the continuation of a series, if you will, of events that have been taking place around the country, that really our work is nonpartisan. The voter registration, education, verification, motivation that we do as faith institutions is nonpartisan. But we definitely know that Christian nationalism raised its ugly rear and became even more poignant, more present under the past administration. It became something that we all need to pay attention to, because it was related to and connected to conspiracy theories. It's related to and connected to critical race theory. It is related to and connected to replacement theory. It is related to and recognize why we have people, organizations that now that call themselves Christians Against Christian Nationalism, that are in place, that are providing tools and talking points and sermon, etc., in the way in which, again, as I shared earlier, to help those of us who recognize that Christ was about love, that Christ came down for love, not for chaos, not for division, not for injustice, but for justice, and for us to be about the defense of Jesus. What happened on January 6th was an atrocity. It was, again, something that every household needs to be aware of. If you're a person of faith, whether you're Christian, whether you're Islam, whether you pray to Buddha, whatever it may be, use the values of your faith tradition and be out there speaking, teaching, and talk about it. And I'd like to, I'm a Baptist preacher, even though I'm married to an AME pastor, but I've got my 3 points to close with. And the first thing is that I want to say to folks is pray, yes, but let's be educated about who and what Christian nationalism is all about, the terms, the issues, and the tactics. Secondly, let's pray and be very intentional about the mixed messages that are out there about Christ, about Christian, the image of Christianity, the disorder, the chaos, the disunity, the lack of love, dignity, and respect that we see, that we saw for institutions such as our government, for individuals such as our law enforcement, for people who are fighting for the right thing. And thirdly, let us be, I'd like to say, let us pray and embrace the words. I love, if you haven't seen The Woman King, I encourage you strongly to go see The Woman King. But General, and I'll mess her name up, Nanaski spoke to the Goe, and she said, "We are not just fighting for today. We are fighting for the future." And so, as people of faith, no matter what faith tradition you are, we have been and called upon for the last couple of decades to be upfront, to say and to embrace our faith, and to embrace being voters who vote by faith. So we are not demanding advocating, voting for today. I want people to recognize that everything we do, elections happen all the time, and all the time we must be ready to vote. That
Hmm.
everything that we are doing, demanding, advocating, voting, is for the future. My Jesus that I love was other oriented. Let us take from this again, this time, the report. I hope people who didn't find time to look at the hearings, that they go back and educate themselves so that they don't lose sight of the big picture, their bigger picture, which is actually about how we redefine government in this country, how we redefine democracy as for the few and not for the many. So I am a Black woman. I am a person of faith. I am clergy. I am somebody who will not be judged by the values of that culture that showed up on January the 6th. We are going to be about the business of doing faith in action. Love came down this season and it stays with us all the time. And so let us again be vessels full of his power that speak truth to power. That's the small p, with the power, the capital P, of the Holy Spirit.
Well, thank you, Reverend Leslie Watson Wilson. And you talked about, well, you said a mouthful, and it was very powerful. Particularly, I want to hone in on talking about voting and the importance of us still getting going out there, registering people to vote, voter education, voter motivation, right? Voter verification, right?
That's right.
And what was the other voting?
Voter turnout.
Voter turnout.
All roads lead to election day, to the ballot box, to casting your vote.
And there we go. And it's a great segue to hear from our very own Commissioner Omar Sabir, who's been on the front line since day one. Well, even before day one, he was doing the work. He was doing the work. And now he's in a key position, has served faithfully. He's always out there. You see him what in public, on social media. You see him out there doing the work. And I just had the distinct honor and pleasure to have worked with before he took on the title of commissioner. So what you see now and him just having that title commissioner, he was that prior to earning that title. And I'm telling you, he's a great guy. So I'm delighted to introduce our commissioner here in the city of Philadelphia, who's out there, boots on the ground. You'll see him everywhere at any time, right? It's like that. What was that, Channel 6? There goes that ABC trucker. Well, there goes our commissioner. There he goes, right? And what I like, one of the things I love about our commissioner, and let me start here, and I'm going to say he is a family man. Well, it may not speak much to other folks, right? But he is a family man, and he spends time, and you see the pictures with him and his children and his wife, and when he's out there in the community, right? And so, and that's important. I want to emphasize that, because as someone said, I don't know if it was Felicia or Representative Darisha, but one of you guys talked about, it's just not for, or Reverend Leslie, it's not just for today, right? It's for our future. So, he's already, creating legacy. Come on now. It's about legacy. We don't wait till our kids get 21, 22, 25. No, we start them young. So that's why I'm taking the moment and taking the time to raise and to highlight the fact that, yes, he is Commissioner Sabir, but you best believe he is investing in his children, his very own. Love it. So take it away,
I'd like to say thank you, Robin, for having me. Again, whatever Robin wants, Robin gets. She said, hey, be on here. As of right now, I'm right down in Washington, D.C., where President Biden just honored election officials from across the country for January 6th. And it was very interesting was that he did about 3 awards from people who are not here now, and their family had to come and accept their medals for them. So we actually had people who actually lost their life defending the Capitol January 6th. And the reason is that there was this big mob. It was based off of a lie. It was based off of a lie about election results, right? Where people were saying that there was fraudulent things happening in places like Philadelphia, Detroit, Atlanta, Arizona, Milwaukee, all the areas where there were people that looked like you and I that's on this Zoom call right now. And we have to understand what's going on. We had historical voter turnout across our country, and there were people that said that those people who are Black or Latino who voted, that their votes didn't count, or that there was something fraudulent going on with their votes. And that's what sparked everything else. That's what sparked the Capitol riot. It was, okay, wait a minute, these Black people doing fraudulent things with our elections, so we're going to come on down there and we're going to shake some things up. And that was the premise of it all. It was a big lie. And we have to understand that, and we have to sort of recognize what happened. And the African-American vote, the state of the African-American vote has always sort of been, whether or not we vote or not vote, that's what decides who's going to have the leadership of this country. And that has always been sort of like the staple of America. And so I say all that to say that the Black vote and the brown vote has power. And far too often, we don't think that we have power. And that is the number one sort of reason why someone would typically participate or not participate, because they might think I don't have the power. And I stand here today, it's 2023, to tell you that you have significant power, that you have significant outreach, and this country is going to go whatever way you want it to go. And what makes a democracy is the election. And so we're calling on everyone to exercise their power that they have. That power is given to us, of course, by God. But we have an opportunity to make the society the way that we want it to be, right? We want it to be just. We want it to be safe. We want it to be fair. So we have to step up and we have to exercise that right. And just as Zion spoke earlier, it's more than just voting. It's about being a better neighbor. It's about being a better citizen. And that's what the American dream is. That's why our forefathers fought so hard to get freedom. And not just to get freedom just existing here. They wanted to make this country a better place. And so that's a part of the legacy that we have the opportunity to enfranchise. And so the call is upon us to do this. The call is upon us to inform our family and friends about how important it is to vote and to make sure that they vote. Right? When we talk about accountability, it's up to us. It's up to the people that we see every single day. So if there's a voter turnout that we don't like, sometimes we put our nose up in the air and say, oh, those young people, or those people, them non-voters, they stink. Leave me alone, right? No, they are our votes. And if we talk to our people and we make sure that they vote, not just say, hey, man, did you vote? No, we want to really make sure that the family and friends are voting. And that's calling our family and friends, talking to them, and having a culture that not voting is not acceptable. My father, God rest his soul, every election day, he would give us the call. And we couldn't lie to him because the judge of elections would let him know who already voted, who didn't vote. So we couldn't lie. I mean, it was, you got the phone call, right? So the phone call was just like a mere formality, to really get there and vote. And I would vote every time, not even because of the candidate. It was just because he was so passionate about it that, he would call. And so we have to take that sort of same responsibility to make those phone calls to assure that our family and friends are doing it. And we're not. And even as we get older, we got to think about some of our seniors who need rides, who need transportation to the polls, our aunts, our uncles. All of these are things that we can do. And again, it's not no TV commercial, it's not no radio ad, it's nothing that could do that. We have to take ownership and responsibility to assure that our family and friends and our loved ones will participate in this franchise that so many people sacrificed before us. So we have to get experience and wrapped up in now, and that's how you increase voter turnout. As simple as that sounds, it's just us doing it. It's us going through our phone books. It's us on our social media page, consistently making sure that our family doing it. I'm not asking everybody to save the world. I'm actually talk to your family, take personal responsibility for your family and friends. That's your brothers, that's your sisters, that's your aunt, your niece. All of those people are people that you can deliver on election day. And so the magic number is if you can ask them 8 times per election cycle, that's 16 times per year, so 70% chance that they're going to vote. Because the number one reason why someone's going to vote is if you ask them. And I know a lot of times we might say, oh, I was talking to, a lot of strangers knocking on doors. I mean, all of that's nice and fine. And I'm pretty sure paid consultants do that. But when it's your family or it's your friend or someone that you love, that you care about, if they're asking you to vote, to participate in the election process, they're going to do it. The only question that you have to answer for them is who to vote for, and they'll vote. 80% chance they'll do it if you ask them 8 times. And again, it could be a text, it could be an email, it could be a phone call. All of those things sort of factor in for acts. But when we get serious and we really go through our phone books, you have about 1,500 contacts in your phone. Everybody do. I mean, a lot of times we're trying to save the world, but accountability starts at home.
Right.
And that's what a lot of we're seeing on the Republican side. They're doing voter registrations at gas stations, supermarkets. They're saying, hey, they looked at the playbook from the civil rights movement and said, hey, this is what we need to be doing. And you're seeing all kind of candidates winning who don't have no money, who organize, and they just got like almost like a cult sort of like following, but they're doing it just off the grassroots. And so this is what we have kind of gotten away from, where you have great candidates that want to run from our community. And we're seeing people from our community saying, well, how much money they got. No, what you mean? If this person is a good person that has a good spirit and they deserve to be in office, put that person in office. So now we have a significant opportunity coming up against us with these judges. All right, we have judges that's coming up. We're going to have, and so what typically happens is they might see a younger African American person that want to be a judge, and it'd be a good person that you know. Do you have any money? What you mean you have any money? Do you got good character is the question that should be asked.
Yes.
And if this person has good character, get that person in office. And it comes from us really just having that sort of grassroots sort of reach and knocking on doors, not just just saying, okay, this person has money and we want to let them in. So when you think about that, you have time to do that. You have an historic number of city council members that's going to be open. You have mayors open. I mean, sheriff, controller, commissioner. I mean, you have all the citywide municipal offices are basically open. So, I mean, this is a period of transition. And if we sit at home and watch, you're gonna say, "Oh man, what's up with our city?" Yeah, but you had an opportunity. So everyone knows, what's happening. If there's anything that I could do to assist you in regards to information for the upcoming election, please let our office know. If there's anything you want to do as far as voter registration or talking to the community or educating the community, block parties, family reunions, we will come out. Just give us enough notice, and we will come out and we will disseminate that information. But again, it has to be now. It has to be sort of this family sort of feel. The reverend, the imams, the synagogue, the rabbis, they play a crucial part in this. We have to bring this message home to our family and friends, let them know, okay, how's it for them? Because everybody that's typically in the voting, they're voting at historical levels now. But we're still kind of missing the average, everyday person that just don't really care too much about politics. And we got to make them care just a little bit more so that way we can get the sort of policy changes that we need for our community.
Thank you, Commissioner. He hit it out the box. The main thing that he said to people that look like us on this thread, he talking about the judicial. We cannot sleep on judges. 10 years on the bench. All the stuff that people whining and crying and things that are happening in our state capitals, shenanigans they trying to put on our ballots. Look at these judges. All the stuff that has happened, it's because it's going to be coming before our Commonwealth judge that we got to deal with from the state level. Then it may even go up to Supreme. And you got folks that saying they going to sit home.
Courts matter. Courts matter. Courts matter. Courts matter.
Come on, family. Like, this is real. We cannot afford to sleep on none of this right now. I know everybody pumping their chest on city council at large and mayor, and they've got the sheriff, and we definitely have the register of wills. But do y'all know about these benches? 10 years? You got people running that has never been in a courtroom. You got a nerve to say you're going to be in a judge and you ain't never been in a courtroom, never prosecuted a case, but you want to be a judge? We're going to have to do our homework. We got to educate our masses because this is crucial. And I'm going to be relentless, quiet. Why? Because we're talking about the dynamics that's about to affect not just our lives, but our children's lives. I'll be quiet.
No, speak on.
I'm just trying to bring it home for people because everybody in here has had a case or has had a family member with a case that it had to do with a judge and had to do with our legal system. And then we got people that don't want to show up for court. They don't want to volunteer for jury duty. All of this stuff matters. All of these things are crucial when we're talking about the qualification of people that when it talks about want to run for these certain offices, especially these judges. This is going to be seriously crucial. And every time they say, oh, there's no information, bull crap, there's information out there on any of us. Once these petitions, that P word, Felicia, once these things start circulating and people may be deemed a candidate, if they make it onto this ballot, get on that phone, get your hot cup of coffee. I don't care if you got a little clue in there, do whatever you got to do and do your homework for some of these people coming before y'all. If they sitting there telling you they have not been before a judge, they have not practiced in a courtroom, how dare they say they're going to get on a ballot? You can't have rookie messing with our lives and our babies' lives and the dynamics that's happening if they never been in a courtroom. You got to start swiveling and start asking some of your friends, your lawyer friends. That's when I'm looking at all y'all here. We got PAU folks. Start doing your partnerships with the Barristers Association. Start having these various questions. You got to start asking these questions because these judges are on the bench for 10 years. That's a long time to put stuff in a lot of people's hands. I'll digress and be quiet, but that right there for me is crucial because I'm seeing it in real time for a lot of things that's happening. Think about things that's happening with our public education system, things that happen in schools, Commonwealth Court, ladies and gents. You got to look at how things is about to happen on a municipal court level and common pleas court, y'all. It's a lot of things that happen that's going to be on these courts. You got these criminals that's coming around and trying to be shenanigans. Hey, in and out. It's a lot of things that's happening. We're going to have to make sure we do a lot of these partnerships before when people get on these ballots to really educate people about what's about to happen in 2023 with these candidates. And I know people are going to share with y'all. They're overwhelmed. They're tired. There's a whole lot of people. It's always been a whole lot of people when it's a year, when you have elections and when you have a year of elections of judicial candidates. And you got to look at the environment. We're talking about COVID. So people have their practices have been closing. So they trying to figure out how they trying to make their next couple of dollars as well. So as you're thinking about this, as you're thinking about time, and some of us, our family members, may not be fluent enough to be knowledgeable with this literacy and reading. You're going to have to really take your time with a lot of this, because it's a lot of things that's going to be in front of them, that the font is not going to be big enough. So you're going to be dependent upon our commissioner's office and all of these other partnership groups to really walk us through what is crucial for 2023. And I know that means a lot of people are going to be kicking our behinds, because we got to make sure that my craziness colleagues on the other side don't be trying to fool no shenanigans with these ballot questions for what we're looking at, what we're going to be fighting for in our state legislature. I'll digress, but I just had to, when he gave his spill, I just need people to realize how serious this year. And I know everybody says each year is serious. Yeah, every year is serious. But when you're talking about these judges, and many of them, as he shared, are not going to have the funds, and they don't look like us. You got to hear what's their experiences, what's their rate. Has any of their cases been on appeal? Have they ever made it out of court? Like, you're going to have to start digging down and finding out where do they stand on various issues, so you know how you're going to make your decisions going forward. Oh, preacher, did I get in trouble? Did I say too much? All right.
You can tell she's been in church. She said, no, I'm going to digress. And then she came back, right? All right, Minister State Rep Darisha Parker.
Let the church.
We know what you've been doing on Sundays. But you know what? And I'm glad that struck a chord with you, and allowing you to share that, because many of us, and speaking generally, a lot of us, we are not aware, we don't know. And which, as you were talking, I said, you know what? I think we need to come back and have a conversation specifically about the courts and the judges, right? What we should be looking for, vetting them, our own selves, right? Asking the right questions. And so we need to have that conversation. So if it's us using this platform, us celebrating sisterhood, because that's what we're doing, right? That's one of our pillars, right? Because we want to inform, to educate, so that we are empowered. So when we go to those booths, when we have conversations, when we overhear conversations, right? We know the truth, we know the facts, and we could speak to those facts, right? We can educate our children, our neighbor, acquaintances as well. So I thank you for jumping right in there, right? You saw how that just flowed, and you were on a roll. But we need to have that conversation so that we will be in the know, and we're hearing from the subject matter experts, right? So and it's funny when you're talking about the judges, because Zion was one of our interns, right? And he expressed and shared with us that I hope it didn't change, but one of his career aspirations, eventually he wants to be a judge. Am I correct, Zion? Right? And go ahead, Zion.
I was just going to say yes.
Yeah. And so, and what he has exposed himself to, and his will, he's not waiting on other people, right? He's taken the initiative of of what his desire, his dreams, where he sees himself, right, and making those contacts and having these conversations with the powers that be. And so I'm so proud of him, and I'm so glad that he said yes to join us in his busy schedule, even though he's younger than just a couple of years. I'm a little bit older than him, right? But to take time out of his Friday night, right, college student, to be on here, that speaks a lot to me. That says a lot. And so, Zion, I thank you for that. There was something else.
Zion, if you're interested in clerking, I don't know where you are with college or law school or any of that. Please stay in touch, because we do know some judges that definitely are looking for students to clerk for them.
Thank you for that. That's actually amazing. I appreciate it.
Would you look at that? That's what it's all about, right? The networking, the connections, right? That's what it's all. Okay, my heart is going pitter patter because that's our goal, right? That's what we want. We want through this platform, through what we do, to connect the people, right? You never ever know. So there you go, Zion.
Well, Zion, Congressman Evans is a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. The Congressional Black Caucus always seeks qualified interns where they will place you with other members of Congress if you're ever looking to express or go into more of the policy piece within law. But if you're interested, I'll put my information in the chat and I can connect you to the Congressional Black Caucus as well for internship.
I'd love that. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
If any of you ever need me for any collaborations with PA Youth Vote, I drop my emails. Just let me know. We'd be glad to.
Oh, I already got it. You already gonna be working. I already got it. We already got it.
Thank you.
And that goes for everyone in the audience too. Just, is there a way I can drop my email in the audience chat?
Yeah, it's in the comments. If you go over to the comments, and I think people can see it there, and then say it, and then we'll make sure we will get it out, right? And I have your information, and I could put it out as well, right?
Okay, it won't let me type in there, but I can just say my email. It's just zion@paYouthVote.org. So just email me there.
Zion@PAVote.org.
Youth Vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Zion@PAYouthVote.org.
Yep.
See, folks, this is what it's all about. It really is. It really is. It's the bridging the gap, bringing the people together. Zion, you know, I'm tickled because you seized that opportunity. One state rep made an offer, then Felicia jumped in, and then you said, well, wait a minute, anybody out there in public? That's what I'm talking about. You seized the opportunity. That's it, right? Darisha, you talked about the opportunities that's out here, and we have to take advantage of them, right? We talked about transitions, and sometimes we look at transitions from the lens of, oh my God, you know, we shun them. We don't want to go through a transitional period or a moment. You know, we are afraid. We don't want to cross over that threshold. But I learned this last year, because it was a transition for me. And yes, I'm going to bring it up, right? It was a major transition in my life when my dad went home to be with the Lord. And I want you guys to hear this. And I was betwixt and between, do I continue on with celebrating sisterhood and the She Shines conference? And I knew that this was something that my dad, you know, he was the wind beneath my wings. He was, you know, my inspiration. He was the one when I couldn't even finish my sentence about this idea that I had, and I believe this is my purpose. He was like, daughter, go for it. I got you. So I knew inside that even though how I was feeling, Darisha, how I was feeling, Felicia, right? Because it's natural, you know, the grieving, and the person who was right there, always there, right, guiding you, loving on you, it's no longer physically here. And so I was at a crossroad, a transition in my life, right? Now, having for X amount of years, having a dad, and then no longer having a dad physically here, transition. And I'm telling you, I just sucked it up, just held fast to my faith, knowing that my dad would not want me to throw in the towel. And I said, I'm going to walk through this door of transition, not knowing what would be on the other side, right? But I'm just going to face this transition. And I did it. And I did it. And can I tell you, and I don't know, hopefully this will encourage someone. Hopefully this will speak to someone who's right at the crossroads. Do you look at transition with your fear and trepidation and hesitation, right? And you just take one step over over that threshold, right? Just step over it. No, you don't know what's on the other side, but you have to believe by faith, right? That you have a calling and a purpose in life, right? Not knowing what's on the other side, but you got to believe that God is with you. Your walk, your purpose may not be the same as your girlfriend or your mother or your sister or your friend or your coworker, but you need to know and believe in yourself, right? And you just cross right on over. And let me tell you, now that was back in the dad passed away in January. In August, late August, I decided, yes, I'm going to go through this door and I'm going to continue on. And I am so glad that I did, because it opened up opportunities for me, and not just for Robin, but for so many other people that right now, today, Zion is here. State rep is here. Felicia is here. The commissioner is here. Leslie is here. You all are listening in. If I said no and just threw in the towel, you all would not have this opportunity to hear from these subject matter experts, these folks who are on the ground doing the work, these folks who believe that we shall, like Martin Luther King said, overcome, that we can do the work, that we have so much before us, right? Opportunities, prosperity, right? Not just the material things, but that too, but prosper in our health, right? And mentally, and growing and maturing. If I said no, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm not going to do it, dad is no longer here, oh my God, what a missed opportunity it would have been. So I'm a living witness, people. I really am shaking in my boots. Don't know it. A lot of people, well, so people say I do, but but I close my eyes, I clench my fist, and I say, God, if you are before me, who can be against me? And also, I did it, and if it didn't work, at least it will be said, Robin tried it. So I'm telling you, try it. Cross over, face the transition. Our lives are transitioning every day. And I promise myself that when God calls me home, that I want to be called home. I want to die empty, meaning every knowledge, gift, skills, abilities, creativity that was in play, instilled in me, that I had access to, that I poured it out. I gave, I shared. We uplift one another. We encourage one another. Yes, we know all what's going on, the craziness in DC and Pennsylvania and Philadelphia and all the other states. We know what's going on in our homes, the murder, the crime, right? The dysfunctions, right? But today I speak life. You're looking at individuals here who believe, not having all the answers, but their lives speaks life. We can do this. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. Our forefathers, our foremothers, they died and passed the torch. So now we're carrying this torch. Yes, we're carrying this torch. And in our own rights and where we are, where we work, where we play, where we live, we're going to let, and yes, this is a pun intended, we're going to let our light shine.
But as you're saying that, Robin, when you're talking about transition, I think for me now, it's been 9 years when my father wrote out my political plan as my brother, who is now my political director. That was in 2014. My dad passed in 2016. I seeked and started working, and you listen, you hear it. My father wrote the plan with my brother. He then told my boyfriend, who was now my husband, and said, my daughter will be the state rep, and here's the plan. And as he was sharing the plan, he was talking to a multimillionaire who wrote the check. So I'm just sharing with you, when you talk about transition and you talk about pivot, and when God places things in your life, in your orders, in your steps is order, the person who was fighting it was me. It wasn't nobody else. It was me. It was me. It was me being behind the scenes. And he said, nah, this is what you gonna do. He didn't ask me. And he gave the messengers, and the plan and the play was executed, and now here we are. So when your steps is ordered, and you live by faith, and you have you share out, and you really kill that noise, because even on this very day, individuals had me ruling out that I lost, but I serve a God, and I have an awesome God, that the mere fact that I was, because of what happens when you have faith, and that I was in the bottom and I beat 3 men, praise him. And it was able to say that I rose from the bottom and the top. And what? I'm here and still looking at you. And all the people who ran against me are now working with me to make sure that we carry out this mission going forward. It's because I never started off being a negative person. I started with faith, and we're on to do this mission, and we got to do this work together. And negative and emotions that people carry with them is what keeps us as a people behind. We keep personalities and the personal stuff, but the political campaigns, we lose. Them white folks is winning. They can cuss each other out on Monday, they cutting the check on Wednesday, and they got the plan on Thursday, and people are in place while we still mad and talking and cussing each other out over collard greens. They winning.
Did she say collard?
Yes, I did. They winning. We keeping things emotionally involved in over politics and over elections, and we are losing. We are losing precious ground. So what if somebody runs somebody against you? Anybody has a right to win. Right. It's your job to execute that plan. And if it's your will, shall will, and if the constituents want you, they will vote you back in. If you're not doing your job, they will vote you back out, and you move on. We got to get past this stuff. And I just think that, we get too much in personalities, too much in emotions, and things pass us by. Becky, Bob, and Sue are winning because they make sure that them plans is executed. They have their ducks in order. And just a little side pushback, and anybody can jump in, because I really need to hear from Zion when we're talking about the young people. When people start talking about they don't have the money, you sitting before a person, that's unacceptable. When you're taking on a life-changing experience, it's a cost. It's a cost to be a boss in this game called life. It's a cost to be the boss when you start engaging in this world called politics. Ain't nothing free. How dare you say you need somebody to help you with their expertise and you think they're going to do it for free? It costs to pay a staff. It costs to run off campaign material. It costs for you to get on the radio. It costs for you to go on black radio. It costs for you to go on TV. So how dare you think it's acceptable for you, a black person, and you talk to somebody for black person, and you think you're supposed to do it on the strength, or you're supposed to think you're supposed to do it on muscle? Nah, you ain't supposed to do that no more. You got to put your weight up. If you want skin in the game, if you want people to take you seriously, you got to raise your money. You got to put yourself in this, that you serious. This ain't a game. This a business. So when Rep Parker was talking about it behind the scenes that nobody knew, Rep Parker knew there was a sacrifice that had to be made. Rep Parker knew that she had to go work for a state rep. I ain't asked what the salary was. I had to work because I had to learn the job before I went and signed up to be the state rep. That's what I had to do. That's the sacrifice that I made. I had to learn the job that I was asked to be to do up front. So then when it was come the time, for then when she wanted to retire, boom, there it is. That means there was some ducks and there was some chips. There was some bags and some hair stuff that I couldn't get for them years, because guess what? Had to save those chips, had to save those coins, because it's a whole expensive process when you take that leave from the state house. I ain't have a job. I was Tommy from Martin. I ain't have a job. So you had to make this stuff work. Had to make it work. Thank God for my husband who rolled stuff out, because guess what? We was eating a whole lot of oodles and noodles, Rep Parker, because, hey, we have check. Had to make stuff work. I was going to see a whole lot of people because I had to get some meals because I was hungry. Had to do what you had to do, because you got to make it work. And you had to be stiff on a swivel. Why? Because we was in COVID. So that election date got changed 4 times. You had to be on a swivel real quick because you're doing this, you're doing that. So guess what? But everybody knew Rep Parker was a baseball cap because beauty salons was closed. So we had to get real creative. baseball caps. I love baseball caps because that's the only thing I had to use. Because everybody was closed. Thank God I had a perm before we had to get everything done with these pictures, because once COVID hit, shops was closed. So you had to get real creatives, and you stayed ready so you didn't have to get ready when that time came in June, when we knew that's when the elections was going to be, with this whole rollout of mail-in ballot. So I gave everybody these gems to say, when people come and say that they don't have money, it's your job when you're seeking something that is in a higher office to get your ducks in order, to make a plan, to have a real conversation with your family and your kitchen cabinet, because they're going to give it to you straight. They're going to let you know if you're ready or if you're not. Because guess what? The nastiness, the critique, everything you could possibly imagine change the day your name goes on that ballot.
Mm.
If you ain't got big panties, this ain't the career for you. This ain't, because they're gonna critique you. They're gonna talk about your hair. They're gonna talk about your outfit. They're gonna talk about your dialect. They're gonna talk about how you look. They're gonna talk about how you interact with people. They're gonna talk about every acronym that's out there. If you have misstated to a person maybe 30 or 10 or 20 years ago, it's gonna come out the day you put your name on that ballot. Those are the real conversation that we got to start having with each other. I know my mic is done. I'm done. I just done.
No, that's good stuff. And so we're going to wrap it up here, right? Because we're going to go right on over with Barbara Arnwine, Maxine Waters, Senator Hughes. Omar had to get off to jump off so he can go over there. Congressman John Serbanes, Darrell Jones. And so we're going to jump on that Zoom. Facebook. And just in case, so you will know, you can go to the Transformative Justice. What is it?
Did we lose her?
I think we did. But I think she was just saying go to the Transformative Justice Coalition's Facebook page.
Okay.
Yes, we're getting ready to go over.
Okay, and it's also a spot for you to, it looks like you can join. I see the Eventbrite too.
Yeah, I guess we should do a little quick closing. Just want to thank everyone for popping into this awesome event. I appreciate all of you amazing people for having helping facilitate this great discussion. And I guess see you at the next live event.
Absolutely. It was great participating with everyone. Zion, keep in touch, and we'll see you on the other event. Take care, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless everybody.
Bye, everyone.